Okay, so it says Myra walks at a constant rate of 8 miles every 2 hours. Graph a line to show the relationship between time in hours T and distance in miles D that Myra walks. What is the unit rate per hour? So in order for us to graph it, we need to know what would be the unit rate, which is also known as slope for us in 8th grade. And in order to figure this out, we need to get what we have and convert that and see what it is for every hour. So it tells us that it's 8 miles every 2 hours, so it's going to be, if we set up a proportion, it would be miles over hours. We were given 8 miles over 2 hours. So in order for us to figure out what per hour is for 1 hour, we need to figure out what 1 hour would be. So in order to figure this out, we need to check and see what could we divide or multiply this by to get to 1. So we could divide by 2 at the bottom and divide by 2 at the top. 8 divided by 2 gives us 4. So this is telling us that we're traveling 4 miles for every 1 hour. So what is the rate of change of the line graphed? Let's go ahead and graph it first. Where we're given, we could graph. So notice how time is in the x-axis and distance is in the y-axis. So we could say that we could graph point 2, 8, 2 hours, 8 miles, 1, 4, 1 hour, 4 miles. So 1, and then up 4 right here, and then 2 all the way up to 8. So if we take that and we draw a line through it, the line would look like that. So once we get that, we could either use one of these strategies that we've been taught, over maybe using the table so these are your x, these are your y values. So you could use the table in stat, or we could do rise over run. So let's do that one really quick. Rise over 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're rising 4 and we're going to the right 1. So notice the increase here is going up by 1. So, and 4 divided by 1 is equal to 4. Same thing here. 4 divided by 1 is equal to 4. So the slope or unit rate is 4. How does the rate of change compare to the unit rate? They're the same. Basically, rate of change, unit rate, and slope mean the same exact thing. So now let's look at the bottom. Mr. Nguyen buys a rope by the foot from the hardware store. The graph shows the relationship between the rope length and the cost. So again, this is money and this is feet. So it says, write a statement that describes the unit rate for the rope Mr. Nguyen purchases. So we need to find out what unit means 1, what 1 foot would be in terms of money, how much he's paying for every foot. Now in order to figure that out, we could set up a proportion. So we're going to set up feet over money. So I don't want to guess what that is. We need to make sure that it is correct, and in order to figure out what's correct for that, we could go for 2. So for every 2 feet, he is paying $1. So now we need to figure out what 1 foot would be costing him. From 2 to 1, we could either multiply or divide by 2 to get from 2 to 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And now we need to do the same at the bottom. 1 divided by 2. If you do that on the calculator, it will give you 0.5. So what that means is that for every foot, he's paying 50 cents. So we're going to say 0.50 per foot. So see how that just changes things? We're figuring out the slope. So every time that he's going up, for 1, he is paying, so 1 is going up to 0.5, 2 is going up to 1, and notice how 4 is going up to 2. So notice it's increasing by 50 cents per foot. Now let's look at this one. Based on the information in the graph, what is the unit rate for cups of sugar per, that's supposed to be cup, not sup, cup of peanut butter? So we're going to set up a proportion as well. Let's say PB for peanut butter and S for sugar. So sugar is given here, peanut butter is given here. For every 1 cup of peanut butter, we are getting, so notice the increase here, guys. This is from 0, we only show 1, but this grid line is what? This grid line is what? And this grid line is what? So we need to ask ourselves these questions because we need to make sure that we know the increase in our y-axis. So it's increasing. If we take 1 and divide it by 4, that means that this would be 0.5, this would be 25, and this would be 0.75. So when we're at 1, notice we're at 0.75. So that means for every 1 cup of peanut butter, we're taking 0.75. So 0.75, or you can be fancy and say 3/4 cup of sugar per peanut butter. And again, 3/4 is the same thing as 0.75. So 0.75 cup of sugar per peanut butter. And that's it.